I have been saying this for a while now, and I'm going to say it again. Joe Biden is the worst gift ever for the Republican Party. Not the party of Abraham Lincoln, but the current version. He is the gift that keeps on taking everything from the current version of the GOP. First, he removed them from having everything in Washington, controlling the White House, the Senate, and the Congress, to having nothing in Washington. The Speaker of the House is a Democrat, the Senate Majority Leader is a Democrat, and the President says he is a proud Democrat as well. Thanks to Biden, the Republicans have moved from all over the place in Washington to here and there in Washington. But at the rate in which Biden keeps stealing, the GOP could very well be nowhere to be seen in Washington. 29 days into his presidency, Biden's approval rating is already above the last 4 Republican presidents: Donald Trump, George Bush Sr., George Bush Jr., and Reagan. Don't push that number as another nonsensical piece of data, because it is not. We are not in the 1980s anymore. The GOP mostly, and the Democrats partly, have perfected the art of painting the other side as the enemy of the country. Many Trump supporters truly believe that Democrats are out there to make a mess out of this country. Some media companies operate under the philosophy of making the other side as the worst thing to happen ever. It doesn't matter what the other side does. It's always wrong. Texas Governor Greg Abbott went on national television to argue that renewables that account for less than 10% of power production in their state is the reason for the power crisis that crippled Texas, not his mismanagement or how underprepared power utilities were in the state. You control all the levers of power, but all your mistakes are caused by the other side and the other side only. Some people buy into these kind of arguments, and no one really believes that there is something called bipartisanship anymore. You're either this side or you're on the other side. The country is still deeply polarized across political lines, and you cannot even have a civilized conversation with a person who has a diametrically opposite political view. In a matter of minutes, that conversation could devolve into personal attacks. That's the state we are in. When Biden said he will rule the country not as a Democrat but as president of all, not many, including me, believed that it would be possible. Even now, I think it's still a tall order. Easier said than done. But nevertheless, Biden is chipping away at support from people who vote Republican. Biden won this election with the support of 51.3% of Americans. Trump had a support of 46.9%. After 29 days at the top, Biden has the support of 54.5%, while only 37.8% disapprove. His disapproval rating numbers is exactly why I'm saying that he is winning some Republican hearts. Through the 4 years of his term, Trump's approval rating stood around 41%. Let's use that as the average. If Trump's hold was at 41%, then how did Biden's disapproval rating drop to 38%? Without some of those voters who staunchly supported Trump throughout his tenure supporting Biden, it cannot. It might be in the margins, just 2 or 3%. But still, there is a small portion of Trump supporters who approve of Biden's performance. Some polls, like the one conducted by Morning Consult, has Biden's disapproval rating at 33%, which is a massive, massive result for Biden. No one thought the divisions could be bridged. The divisions are still there, but for whatever reason, people are starting to think that we can look at the other side and hope for the best, that the other side is not the enemy, that I am a Republican, I voted for Trump, and I approve of Biden's performance does not feel unusual or shameful for a lot of people. It's still 3% or maybe 5% of Republican voters, but in a pool of 160 million plus voters, that's tens of millions of voters. Biden's polished approach to politics is finally starting to move the needle. I really don't know how to say this. I did not think this will happen. Put me in the crowd of people who said this will never happen.
It's actually worth pausing and recalling what this claimed conventional wisdom entails.
The country's in real trouble. We've got a very sharply divided society.
The divide that splits this nation.
Are we going to continue to exacerbate the darkness, the division?
There's so much division, not only within our party, but within our country right now.
The political polarization is only going to get worse.
In such a divided country, presidents who come into office don't all of a sudden, even if they win a close election, it used to start with like a honeymoon period. They don't exist anymore.